does. I don't think it gives the same impact. So I think it's important that we're very honest with that, and we say, okay, virtual learning isn't as good as learning with somebody who's right there with you. Virtual coaching, so us coaching athletes virtually over a computer screen, isn't as good as us coaching athletes on the ground. We understand that, and that's quite obvious. It's the same when you're coaching coaches, but it allows us to reach so many more coaches. It allows so many more coaches to be able to get quality mentorship from quality mentors. It allows this experience that I had, that you had, that so many other hundreds of coaches had to be mentored, say, by Coach Dan Path. It allows us to provide that experience to a much wider group of coaches. And I think the important bits here is that, yes, it's maybe not as good, but 90% of it is just as good and maybe even better. It's that 10% of just, sitting down and having coffee with Dan, and just, shooting the breeze, and those side conversations that it's harder for us to facilitate virtually. It's harder, it's almost impossible for us to facilitate those experiences in our coursework. And it's one thing that we've really tried to focus on to bring into this mentorship, where we've provided a platform for the coaches not only to learn from, in a fairly structured way from their mentors, but to have these more organic and less structured conversations between themselves and with our mentor group, and that's through the Mighty Networks thing that obviously that you've set up. I truly hope that this works, and I truly hope that coaches see the power of that. Coaches understand the power of more organic and less structured conversations between themselves. Because I think if we look back to our own development as coaches, it's not just having this, this mentor figure that we learn from, but it's having a bunch of colleagues that we can interact with and talk about these things that we're learning. I think that's the true power in mentorship, I think. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of providing that. Now, what it's not, though, as I said, and we'll get back to that, it's not true mentorship where you're with the mentor every day. And I feel like that's the gold standard in mentorship apprenticeship. But it doesn't really happen that way anymore, does it? It rarely, anyway. Rarely does that happen. Even in my experience with Dan, and maybe even your experience with Dan, I met Dan in 1995. And I spent 2 weeks with him, learning from him as much as I could. And then I went away for a year. And in that year, I may have the odd phone conversation with him. But what it was in that year is I was taking the learning that I learned from Dan, having conversations with my colleagues, and then a year later going to spend another couple of weeks with Dan again and learning some more, and then going away and then applying this new knowledge and this new way of thinking. And again, conversing with my coaching colleagues. And it was just this oscillating system over the course of time that little periods of learning new information, pulling back, understanding how it all fits together, and becoming more knowledgeable. More information, pulling back, and so on. And I feel like we've done a really good job of putting together that type of system. It's that type of system where we're oscillating between learning new stuff, pulling back, okay, how does this fit into your coaching practice now? And then providing the opportunity for these coaches to have conversations with each other about that.